I'm Professor Satya Mahapatra. Well, my life started in such a humble way. I didn't think I'll be here on this day. I grew up in a very small town, Barampur, where everything was at walkable distance. I was surrounded by such comfort, big family, lot of people in the house. I was part of 8 siblings, 5 brothers, 3 sisters, the fourth child. I was happy as a child. I didn't have big ambitions or didn't think of doing something great or spectacular. Studied in a small school, vernacular medium. So life looked very simple, easy, and once my father put the idea in my head that I should be uh, an engineer and should study in a great engineering college like IIT Kharagpur. And I said, yeah, I want to go to IIT Kharagpur. And the 12th standard science exam wasn't very important for me. I just went through it and I went through the IIT entrance with equal ease without any preparation. And the result was obvious. I couldn't make it. And naturally, I was so disappointed. I was told you can't be so naive that you go for the IIT entrance without any preparations. Well, a disappointed boy suddenly gets a letter from All India Institute of Speech and Hearing and wonders what is this speech and hearing? Well, I went to engineer. What kind of specialization the speech and hearing engineering is? He said speech and hearing, as far as I know, nothing to do with engineering. Uh-oh. So must be something to do with medical. A relation who was a physician, he said, as far as I know, you will not be part of the medical field. Oh, I was relieved. I didn't want to be part of the medical field where there is so much of pain, suffering, blood, pus, stench, and death. But then somebody says, well, speech and hearing means you will be trained to work in a radio station. Those days, India did not have its television. So I said, radio station, I panicked because as a child I had speech defect. I fumbled. Later on, I realized it was called stuttering. Apart from my stuttering problem, I also had my behavioral hangovers. That is, I was very nervous, shy, avoided strangers, felt comfortable among only the family and close people, and I was to prepare to go and join some strange place, some strange subject. Well, my father again said, okay, you go there. If you find the subject interesting, join the course. If not, you can go around Mysore, Bangalore. They are beautiful cities. Babuji, how do you know Mysore and Bangalore are beautiful? He smiled. Well, as a intelligence officer, working for the government of India, I camouflaged myself and worked as a laborer in Kolar goldfield. I was excited. Oh my God. If Babuji says Mysore is a beautiful city, let me go. On the day I arrived at the All India Institute of Speech and Hearing, I met somebody in the boys' hostel, clad in a string bikini, a horror show, and I timidly asked him, if I study this subject, will I get a job? And he replies very casually, says, अरे सब भाग जाते हैं. I said, भाग जाते हैं? Where do they run away? They go to America, Europe, Australia. Wow, I was amazed. My elder brother had escorted me to Mysore because I was feeling so insecure. I looked at my elder brother and declared my decision. Brother, I'm joining this course because I have to go to America. Well, I joined this audiology course and continued my study in All India Institute of Speech and Hearing to go to America, not to serve my state, Odisha, not to become a dedicated person to work for the people suffering different kind of disability.
For me, Mysore was wow. And Aish, whatever it was those days, it was something very exciting. For a person who was riding the bullock cart, going to Mysore and living there amidst kind of a elite group, the teachers who were trained in USA, that was something very exciting. My classmates, they themselves were from different parts of the country, like Nalini was from Manipur, Anne Mary Joseph had roots in Kerala, Asha Yatiras had roots in Tamil Nadu, Rajkumar Pandita, right now he is in USA, he was from Kashmir. So people from length and breadth of the country, they were my classmates. So while Lalita Kulkarni was talking in Marathi and Venkatesh CS, my classmate, talking in Kannada, their accent-ridden English was all the more difficult to understand.
Oh my God, how do you talk to such people? This has to be English only, and I didn't know how to speak in English. I studied in purely Odia medium, and the Odia none of my friends understood. When the faculties came, they carried with them their American education and the American accent. I just couldn't cope with their accent, and the teaching was also too overwhelming.
My friends were very nice. They made me comfortable in the class. While Dr. Ratna talked with his deep voice, thundering voice, there were other people exactly opposite, like Bhavani madam had a very peculiar accent herself. Shelja Nikam, she had a drawl in her voice that was also very difficult to cope. So while the basic English was so difficult, I had to deal with all kinds of accents among my classmates and among the faculties. So all the while, day and night, it was a challenge for me.
Well, I went to the clinic. The therapy has to be done in Kannada. Went to the city. Most people speak purely Kannada. Oh God, I can't speak Kannada. I can't speak English. Hindi, I could understand, but I couldn't speak Hindi either. And my Odia, nobody understands. I long to talk to somebody in my Odia. There was no one. I was to feel so frustrated, and what do I do? I felt like crying, but boys can't cry. It is so embarrassing. I used to go up the roof, hide behind the water tank in the hostel, and cry my heart out that I am not able to talk to anybody, feeling so frustrated. And sometime I decided I have to speak in English. But when you start beginning and you make all kind of mistakes and you use a funny local language accent, you have a fear. People would laugh at you. So across the road from my hostel, there used to be millet fields, tall millets. I used to get inside the millet field so that I can hide and start practicing my English as if I was talking to the birds, talking to the plants in English. And that's how started working on my communication skill and my personality. But when I was just beginning to have a grip over my communication and my behavioral problems, I was stuck with a blow. My father developed a heart problem, diabetes, and I realized his earning will be affected. And while I was barely in the second year, he couldn't send me any money anymore. So I had a choice: give up my studies, come home, manage my father's business, or do something else. Well, the time was so difficult that I had to count 5 paisa, and if I wanted to buy a banana, that used to cost 20 paisa. I used to collect 5 paisas, and yeah, here I have 20 paisa, so I can buy a banana. I didn't expect such financial crisis. People suggested go meet some faculties, ask for help, financial help. I could never digest the whole idea of going to somebody and seeking their help. My hand cannot be stretched for help with a begging bowl. Well, the struggle was naturally short-lived. I could somehow drag on and complete my studies.
In fact, by the time I completed my graduation, I thought I have mastered everything. So I didn't want to even apply for masters. That was perhaps a bit of arrogance or a bit of stupidity. But those days, the top 10 students were normally offered admission to the post-graduation. Because Mysore was the only institute, and 20 students were admitted at the graduation level. 10 students automatically were offered post-graduation. I didn't care about masters, okay? But the letters were sent to people who would be admitted. and I didn't get it. I said, oh my God, I did not get it. That means I was such a poor performer in the graduation level. Actually, I never bothered about the marks, never bothered about my rank. But when you are denied or you are deprived or you don't get it, you crave for it. Then after a few days, I got the letter. I ran to Mysore and joined the master's program. Then I inquired, how come I didn't get while a few others had got admission? Very casually, the clerk said, actually, sir, we sent only 5 letters, and after the 5 joined only, we sent another 5. So your rank is 8th position. So that's why you didn't get in the first lot. I said, okay. But yes, I joined the masters. It was a little more maturity which I required. People like Harpreet Singh joined me. Harpreet Singh was actually some 4 years senior, but he joined as my classmate during the masters. His was a wonderful influence. The naive, timid, shy, introvert opened up. And during that time, few people who greatly influenced me are Gajanan Latte. Very recently, he expired. Latte spoke several languages. He was from Maharashtra, but apart from Marathi, Hindi, English, he could speak Kannada, Malayalam, Tamil, Telugu, Bangla. Even he tried to learn Odia. My Odia, he tried to learn. I was really fascinated, and he taught me philosophies like Krishnamurti, J. Krishnamurti's philosophy. He taught me, rather made me take interest in many other subjects apart from our curricular things. So his was a great influence. Sunil Sood, he was basically a Punjabi. He was my roommate. Sunil Sood was a great influence because he was exactly opposite of everything that I was. While I had the dark skin, he had the fair skin. While I had the straight hair, he had the curly hair. While I was so timid and shy, he was the extrovert. While I was struggling to speak Hindi or English, he was very articulate. His language was too good. So, kind of, I considered him everything so nice, so good. Now Sunil Sood is in UK. Such people as Sunil Sood, Gajanan Latte, and Kiran Kumar Lal, they were great influencers during those days. So I began to recognize myself, began to accept myself, whatever I was. So things changed in such a way. Satya Mahapatra was no more that Satya Mahapatra.
So Mysore, as I was trying to complete under the stress of finances, and I was eager to start earning, and then something happened, something that I don't know if it is divine or what. I got a call from the government of Odisha, a very senior officer, to come and attend a case. Well, I arrived in Bhubaneswar to be received by uniformed driver with a car having the light added to it, indicating it's a VIP vehicle. I was taken to the state guest house as a VIP person. Oh my God, for a person who is barely 21-year-old, such treatment is something out of the world. I was feeling so excited. And where do I land? I was talking to the Chief Minister of Odisha, Mr. Janaki Vallabh Patnaik. Couple of cases I was asked to handle was one pubophonia, which is very easy for a speech pathologist, and a case of stuttering. Well, I was too confident I can provide the therapy and do the counseling. But the moment they realized that I am talking to such cases and helping them, quite a lot of VIPs, somebody is a minister, somebody is a bureaucrat, and somebody is a member of parliament, and they all came with very, very difficult, very challenging cases and said, you have to treat them. I said, oh my God, it's not possible. You need to go to some institute where the team of professionals are there, equipments are there, where the infrastructure is there. Where is the institute in Odisha? I said, I don't know. There must be some place. And they found out Cuttack Medical College, Berhampur Medical College, or Capital Hospital in Bhubaneswar. Nowhere, forget about the department, even one single qualified person is available. So they said, okay, Odisha doesn't seem to have any institute. You set up an institute. I said, sir, I have a idea of going to USA because that is the place where I want to be. And I do have an offer. I can go and join Florida. The Chief Minister said, why do you want to go to America? Just for a job? Come on, you work for your home state. I was feeling little confused. He looked at me, he perceived I must be thinking about money. He said, is it money? Well, we'll give you money, we'll give you land and whatever you want. Come on, you establish the institute. So, what institute? What name you would give it? I thought for a moment and said, sir, can we name it Speech and Hearing Rehabilitation Institute? He was excited. He was a man of literature. Oh, SHRI, Shri, beautiful name. Let's establish Shri. And he called the Principal Secretary of Community Development and said, this young doctor wants to establish some nice institute for the people who suffer various disability. Please help him and let's establish it. A 21-year-old boy started his career with a big dream of setting up the biggest institute in Odisha for speech and hearing rehabilitation. The bureaucrats who were assigned the task of helping me showed me there are different rules, different schemes, different provisions, and I always found unprepared to fit into the rules, fit into the schemes and programs. And pursuing the dream was such a tedious job for an immature, inexperienced person like me. And when I pestered, I was told, you are being too impatient. These things take time. You better join the Capital Hospital. I joined the government job. Morning till evening I was attending the patients, getting involved in the rehabilitation services. But Before I realized, 5 years had been spent and there was no trace of Speech and Hearing Rehabilitation Institute. Frustrated, I got tired of Odisha and resigned my government job, left Odisha with a promise never to come back again. Went and joined different jobs in Gujarat. I was given the principal's position, and whatever I wanted to do at Speech and Hearing Rehabilitation Institute, it found a platform. I practiced or developed different activities, different infrastructure that I would have created in Speech and Hearing Rehabilitation Institute. That was very rewarding experience. The catharsis in me found that center develop. Further on, I moved to occupational health service, dealing with the industrial infrastructure, the noise pollution and the remedies. Next, I found an opening in the Government Medical College at Bhopal, where I found, apart from the clinical work, I was teaching MBBS students, I was teaching the postgraduate students in otolaryngology. That was very exciting. I was enjoying my job as a teacher, as a clinician. I had got married, was blessed with a daughter. Life was wonderful. Everything was going smooth. And suddenly, the realization came that my life is becoming the ritualistic now. For the excitement again, I wanted to go to America. And that is the time something happened at my home. Some close relation suffered paralytic stroke and there was no service available to him. At the other end of the telephone call, somebody who is my blood was crying, and I was thinking of improving my own personal status, my own personal earning, my profile by quitting government job at Madhya Pradesh and going to USA. I had to take a very strong decision. When I was taking advice from a well-wisher, he said, one Satya Mahapatra, if he goes to America, how America will develop? I laughed out. I said, it's a job. I want to go to USA. I always wanted to. He continued, one Satya Mahapatra, how Odisha will develop? I said, when my own blood is suffering, no service is available, something will happen. But no, Odisha is not a suitable place. Nobody provides any help. I wasted valuable 5 years of my career unnecessarily working to develop some infrastructure in Odisha. Then the gentleman used the harshest word to scold me. He said, do you think with your black skin you will ever become one among the white Americans? No. Whereas the people who loved you, people who spent their money for you, your education, everything, you are taking it along, and like a thief, you want to go to some alien place and make some money for yourself. It was very awkward. It was very embarrassing. I didn't expect the well-wisher to scold me like that. But well, that was kind of a eye-opening for me, that life is not for my own self. It's not for earning my bread and butter. My professional knowledge or skill, that should help the society. And society means people whom I consider my own. So when I decided to quit the government job, this time I did not have the guts to tell my family that I am resigning the job just because I want to create an institute in Odisha. Uprooting the family and coming to Odisha just to pursue a dream was considered crazy by everybody. Everybody thought I have gone out of my head. Otherwise, such stupid decisions normally people don't take. Well, I arrived in Odisha without realizing it is going to be another Panchavarshiya Yojana. Another 5 years of struggle was there. I didn't expect that kind of turmoil, that kind of frustration, that kind of challenges. Only I had thought I'll not go to government to beg some grant, beg some land. I thought I can make it happen. I was too naive, too unprepared. In 1995, I gave up my government job in Madhya Pradesh, came to Odisha with the perception that I must earn enough money so that I can build the institute. I should not be begging the government for support. So I went with the usual process of registration and application for the permission. I didn't realize it is unprecedented. Odisha did not have anything, so the clerks and the bureaucrats, they had nothing to copy paste. It is unprecedented effort. So they didn't know how to deal with my proposal. Again, it took years. But then parallelly, I was thinking I'll have to make money. Instead of giving 100% time to clinical services, I divided my time. Part time, I attended patients in Margadarshi clinic that we founded, and other time I established another institute. We named it Building Research and Training Institute. That was for research development in construction technology. So we were training the masons and other artisans. We were into manufacturing of masonry products. That was actually generating profit. The business venture went on. I was prepared. This time I will not be impatient with the government process. But nature has its own ways. In 1999, when I was very comfortable making money, my manufacturing units and my training centers, my research work, everything was going on in construction technology. Odisha experienced its one of the worst cyclones. We call it super cyclone, with a wind speed of 350 kilometers per hour. Odisha was lashed with heavy rain. The devastation caused to Odisha also destroyed my entire enterprise. The area where manufacturing process had been established was drowned under 30 feet water. The building were damaged. The loss was more than 1 crore at that time. I was almost broken because I had just created the Institute of Health Sciences, minimal infrastructure, with a hope that government will pass the Persons with Disability Act of 1995 in Odisha. Government was very positive to pass the act so that institutes like Institute of Health Science or the Rehabilitation Science Education will get proper recognition. Well, I was penniless. The loss and the frustration of going at a pretty slow pace was almost breaking me apart. But then when you hit the rock bottom, there is only one way to go, that is to rise. In 2000, government gave its recognition to Institute of Health Sciences to start the audiology programs, and then the hope was rekindled.
Love, hard to find and even harder to keep. The book I Have No Earthly Idea, written by S.K. Radhakrishnan, takes the readers on an emotional roller coaster ride where Senthil and Sumathi, two young physical therapists, fall in love and vow to marry each other and spend the rest of their lives together. Unlike every other couple in love, they promise to be together through thick and thin. Despite their love, being the oldest in the families leaves them to deal with a plethora of responsibilities at their homes. Senthil moves to America to make a better living and improve life. Meanwhile, the love of his life awaits his return for their marriage. Their strong bond and pure love wasn't enough to keep them together. The traditions and customs of Sumathi's extended family forcibly separate the couple. Shattered and broken after losing the love of his life, Senthil struggles to recover and tries to get his life on the line once again with the help of a new career as a physician assistant and Annabelle, a speech pathologist. Will Sumathi ever return and revive the long-lost love, or will Annabelle become the love of Senthil's life? Grab yourself a copy today and find out more.
When you take up such big projects, I often think it is divine, and the divinity connects you to people, connects you to issues, and I realized Institute of Health Science, though will start with the audiology program, will have its objective to include all the medical rehabilitation programs. So it required lot of infrastructure, land, building, money, and things were not so easy for a social enterprise in Odisha. Well, Institute of Health Science had to begin with a small setups in rented buildings scattered over 10 different tiny buildings. The academics, the clinicals, the administration were all in different places, and we realized we require our infrastructure at one place. The land was prohibitively expensive in the city, and as I was scouting for suitable ambience, I found a place in Chandaka that was famous for its wild elephants attract me. When I visited that place, wild peacocks were moving around. Wow! I was romancing that place. Obviously, being a rural area at the outskirts of Bhubaneswar, the land cost was little cheap. I could manage and start the infrastructure. But when I decided to start the infrastructure, it is the banks who should lend. I had to run from one place to another. You are a non-profit? Sorry. We banks are supposed to give loans to profit-making organizations. And somebody talked about how much fees do you charge for your therapy? I said about 50 rupees per session, and the people who heard my answer laughed out loud. 50 rupees per session, and you are asking bank loan worth 1.5 crore to build your infrastructure? How dare you? How can you even think of repaying the bank loan with interest? It's simply impossible. Well, you have to go to the government. They should give the grant. I knew. My first episode was running after the government for grants, and that's how I wasted. The first project was lost. This time I had to convince. Ultimately, there was somebody who said, well, I am taking a risk. A disability rehabilitation center, nobody is believing can repay the loan, but I am taking a risk. I hope this doesn't become a black spot in my career. Well, he trusted me and I trusted the divinity. But then the infrastructure means I had different ideas. People with a disability will come to our center for months and years. Nobody feels happy when they go to a hospital. They want to finish the job as soon as possible and rush back to their home. If anybody has such feeling at our center, they won't come to us for years or months. I talked to several architects. The architects were getting impatient. Sir, you are talking too much. You just tell me how much building space you need and what's your budget. We will prepare a plan. I said, if you don't have the patience to hear about the use of the building, how can you even ever plan it? Well, there are always some different kind of people. There was an architect in Bangalore. He heard my story over the telephone, and next thing I know is he has landed in Bhubaneswar, keeping aside his important assignments. He said, you are talking of rehabilitation? Well, let me do whatever I can. He did not ultimately even take his fees for his consultation, for his guidance, for his planning, and he created the vernacular architecture based campus of Institute of Health Science at Chandaka. Now when people come to this campus, for a moment they forget about their autism or cerebral palsy or stroke affected patients. They talk about the buildings, the campus, the ambience, and they are impressed. And I am happy. The campus, whatever objective with which it was planned, is coming to realize it. And as we built the Institute of Health Science academic blocks, clinic blocks, we wanted to develop a dedicated center for pediatric cases. Children who are affected by neurodevelopmental disorders like autism, attention deficit, hyperactivity disorders, specific learning disability, they are becoming a big number in our OPDs. So the model center for children with special need was conceived. Specific center was conceived for children suffering cerebral palsy. The other such units, they were conceived to address specific needs. When we established the model center, we decided to develop the functional skills as far as possible or to the near normal level. And we realized children have many different needs that not one single professional can handle. So we decided to go ahead with multimodal therapy with intensive therapeutic intervention. Our results were nearly miraculous. Children who walked into the center with completely non-verbal status and the features of developmental disorders in full bloom walked out of the center with complete normalization of age appropriate communication and other skills. So the children were discharged into mainstream schools and they joined as not as special children but as normal children. This was very encouraging and very rewarding experience. But then there are many people who did not reach us at the right time. This development could take place when it was early intervention. Children who reached us late still required some services. So we established the School for Autism, where children who have missed the bus of early intervention still can get multimodal therapy and develop their functional skills as far as possible. There was a specific domain of social skill development. We did an experiment. Normal kids in the very poor families in the nearby villages and slums, we found the casual labor, the daily wage earners left their children in their huts or the villages. These kids didn't get curricular education. So we sent our vehicles to pick up such children from their slums or from the villages. We provided them with the food, clothes and education free of cost, but created a very small groups of only 10 normal children, and we integrated 2 special children in that group. Thus, peer influence could be created. It worked. Children developed their social skills in such a controlled atmosphere where 10 children are normal, having normal behavior, normal communication, and only 2 are having some challenges in communication and behavior. So we established a platform and registered a school as Aditi Integrated School. It is doing marvelous job for development of social skills in children with neurodevelopmental disorders. Just as pediatric population, another segment was the geriatric population. The older people who suffered stroke or developed neurodegenerative disorders, they required services, and we understood that should be again intensive therapeutic services and multimodal therapy. So now we began that experiment to provide multimodal intensive therapeutic care and realized it works. It works. The dedication and the professionalism does provide the relief, and we have discharged cases who came with aphasia, with hemiplegia in about 6 months time. That is so rewarding for us professionals and for the family. Students from all over India, they come to study at Institute of Health Sciences. They complete their education, work in different parts of the country, and some people have settled abroad in Australia, Middle East, Europe or America. My concern was, should every student only think of their career as a remunerative activity for the labor? Should every person work as a knowledge worker or something beyond? I have been nudging the student to think beyond the level of personal need. It is a need of the profession, need of the society, need of the suffering humanity. If they can connect to that, their contribution can be something goal oriented, solution providing, as well as it will build their profile as a innovator, as a intellectual leader. Some of my students have made me proud. People have decided to go into research and development. Some have gone into outreach activity in a substantial manner. The future for the youngsters have to be mentored, shaped by the experienced people. While I have spent my 38 years in this profession, I am not alone in this. I have been asking many other professionals to join me in the mentoring process. I think my communication was not right, so many simply did not come forward in guiding the students. The students at most places learn straight out of the textbook, and straight out of the textbook doesn't provide them the soft skills that is required for professional in the rehabilitation field. I hope the soft skills are incorporated, and senior people like me should come forward to share their lifetime experience and motivate, inspire, guide the youngsters not to just focus on a rewarding career, but build a rewarding life. We wanted public to become aware of our profession, audiology, speech pathology. So I thought a professional event should be conducted to create an impact. I contacted the Isha General Secretary. We'll have a Isha conference in Odisha. He was rather amused. He asked me, how many people are there in Odisha? I said about 6 people. Where are they? One person is in Cuttack, other is in Olotpur, third in Bhubaneswar, fourth in Barampur, fifth in Burla, and I am the 6th person who is not engaged to any medical college or hospital. He smiled. Where do you want to hold the conference? I said Puri. And what is there in Puri? Any medical college? I said no. Any big hospital or university? I said no. Who is working there? Any professional? I said nothing. Are you joking? I said no. We'll have it. Puri will be the right backdrop to host the Isha conference. Well, he said, you are the one person who traveled all the way to Calcutta just for requesting to host the conference. Your sincerity speaks for itself. Okay, I will recommend. 1998, Odisha hosted the first Isha conference. That was the 30th annual conference of Indian Speech and Hearing Association. Oh my God. For me it was mouthful. I said, can I have an acronym? I created the acronym ISHACON 30. And the communication went to all people. Those were the days when it wasn't mail. We printed using imported glossy paper. The design of the brochure was done by some professionals. That was the first time ever in Isha's history the color brochure was sent to the delegates. Printed in imported glossy paper, designed by professionals. Well, I was laughed at, mocked at. You have started some kind of a travel agency. You are inviting tourists to Puri. Well, that wasn't all. When people landed there, they noticed it is ISHACON 30, and they started firing abuses at me. How dare you? Who permitted you to call it ISHACON? The general body approved? The executive council approved? How dare you? You have to remove all this, put it as it is, annual conference of Indian Speech and Hearing Association. Well, everything was done. It wasn't easy to tear apart everything and start afresh. We went ahead. The conference ended. People appreciated that the conference was held at a place that has tourist attraction as well. They enjoyed the professional activity as well as the socializing. Next year, the communication came, and lo, the communication said it is ISHACON 31. I inquired, the general body approved it? Executive council approved it? No. Isha incidentally recognized my contribution. In 2016, they awarded me OZA Oration Award. They asked me to deliver a talk. Impromptu, I talked, assuring the audience that I might make mistakes. If I don't read a prepared text, I might make errors. But I told them I am used to making mistakes, and one of my mistakes continues to be pasted bold and clear on the stage, ISHACON. So ISHACON continues to be my mistake. Even now it is not approved by the general body or the executive council of Isha. Well, 1982 I wanted to strengthen Isha. Me and one of my friends, together we worked towards encouraging ordinary member to become life member. So they contribute substantial amount at a time. So the corpus fund of Isha builds up. Well, the small bits and pieces of activity, whatever I have tried to do to strengthen Isha, may get recognized, may not get recognized, but I am committed to bring the professionals together for something relevant, something useful for the professionals themselves and for the society. Well, the activity goes on, and in 2008 I wanted repetition of Isha conference in Odisha. This time I was denied. There was no invitation to host Isha conference in 2008, yet Odisha's invitation was refused. for whatever reason. I said, oh my God, I'm prepared to host the conference. Anyway, I'll go ahead. So if it is not Indian Speech and Hearing Association conference, let it be an international conference, and that is how International Symposium on Audiological Medicine, ISAM, started in 2008. The experience was so nice. Professor Ulf Rosenhall, who is considered father of audiological medicine, basically a otolaryngologist. Subsequently, he studied audiology, and whatever is his contribution, he is admired. The gentleman agreed to come to Bhubaneswar, all the way from Sweden. 2008 ISAM was so rewarding that we continued to host the ISAM in 2009, 10, 11. Continuously, it became an annual event. Well, there are hiccups when the sponsorship becomes a big issue, and industry looks at sponsorship not from the point of view of developing the profession or building up the public image or anything of that sort. It's not service to the society. They look at business and who can benefit them. So ISAM did not attract a lot of commercial sponsorship. So 2020 we held the conference with zero sponsorship from the industry. So ISAM 21 will be a repetition of no sponsorship, no commercial support, but the professional event should continue. Like ISAM, I have been holding several small and big programs, whether in audiology or physiotherapy or any specific domains like ergonomics, neurology, or many such smaller domains like even conference of autism, conference of stuttering. All that has been my contribution. And 2015 ISAM had a bit of I would say another solution responding to a specific need. Indian students, they studied books authored by Americans or Europeans. I thought the syllabus of RCI should be covered by an Indian author, and we published the first ever book, Fundamentals of Audiology, to cover the undergraduate syllabus of audiology. The bits and pieces in my contribution goes on and on without stop, and there is much more to do.
I have two daughters. The elder one is Spruha. Spruha, as a child, before she joined her nursery schools, just for fun, I started teaching her some anatomy. When she went to the nursery, the teacher would ask, "What is this?" And she would say, "Maxilla." Okay, what is this? The apex. Oh my God. What this girl is talking about? Her teacher interacted with my wife. My wife said, "Oh my God, you have taught all the anatomical body parts," and she keenly observes the teacher's finger and tells it's alley or the apex or the bridge. So mandible, maxilla, those kind of words. Well, that was the early days. Later on, when the school teacher would ask, "Oh, you people, when you grow up, what do you want to become?" My daughter always used to say, "When I grow up, I'll be an audiologist."
Wow.
And later on, people started laughing. Some funny word this girl says, that audiologist. Okay, Miss Audiologist, they started calling her. Like many disappointed parents, I pushed her for engineering. Because I wanted to study in IIT, Kharagpur, that too. I had not been successful in my first attempt. That's how I landed in Mysore. So I pushed her for engineering. When the entrance test results came, she had got something like 723 ranks all India. And in Odisha, her rank was 6th position. She could have got some good college. But then she started crying. Papa, I don't want to study engineering. What do you want to study? She said, audiology. I said, no. Just because you like or inspired by Papa doesn't mean you will become an audiologist. Why do you want to study audiology? She said, I want to deal with real human beings and real human issues, not always deal with machines and money. Well, very impressive reply for a teenager. I said, okay, fine. If you want to study audiology, there is only one college. If you get admission in Aish, Mysore, you study audiology. Otherwise, you study something other. If not engineering, something else you will study. She did compete in the entrance, got admitted into Aish, graduated from Aish. After Aish, I advised her to go abroad. She completed her AUD from University of South Florida, Tampa. Now working as faculty in University of Texas, Dallas. My youngest daughter, she from the very beginning said, Papa, nothing to do with engineering, nothing to do with medical, and also I am not interested in audiology. Definitely not. Okay. So what do you want? I don't know what I want. You have to advise. You advised elder one, so you advised me. So, well, I suggested her to try law as a profession, and she completed her 5-year law degree from National Law University. Now she's working for a legal firm in Delhi. She is a postgraduate in English. But from the very beginning, she said, I'm not going to work. So she's a housemaker. But then my institute, what I built, the touch of aesthetics and beauty is from her.
Oh, that's nice.
She is not a qualified interior designer or landscape designer, but the landscape and interiors, they are not designed by any professional. She has done it. People come and appreciate the campus. A bit of aesthetic touch is given by my wife, and the two of us have built. It's not really professionals who built the institute.
Life has been a very rewarding experience every single day. The challenges have come and we have overcome many of the challenges. That's how we feel so happy, so excited. Solving disabling condition is such an exciting activity. I couldn't have asked for a better career for myself. So I encourage youth to take up rehabilitation as a vocation, as a career. Well, rewards come from unexpected quarters also. The Rehabilitation Council of India, the statutory body controlling rehabilitation education and the services in the country, has given me the responsibility of the Eastern India as the chief coordinator, and very recently the Government of India inducted me into the governing council of the RCI. The small rewards for lifetime activities, this has not ended. My journey is continuing, and my eagerness to find solution to many problems perhaps will lead me towards solution, towards solving issues that will kindle hope and inspire the youth to take rehabilitation as a career, as a vocation.